Okay, lesson 10.4, making inferences from sample surveys. Couple vocab words. A population, which is similar to what you already know for population, is the collection of all data that are of interest. So that's a weird way to say it, but it really means the whole amount. So like if we were wanted to do a question for all 7th graders, well, where are all the 7th graders? The whole United States, right? Okay, so the population would be all 7th graders in the whole United States. Now, are we going to be able to ask all the 7th graders in the whole United States the same question? No, we aren't. Somebody probably could, but we aren't. So even though that's the population, then the next word is sample. That's what we would do. We would still ask some 7th graders, but it would have to be a sample of the whole United States. It wouldn't be the whole population, okay? So sample is a subset of the population. Okay, so obviously it's part of the whole. Connor, what are you doing?
I was gonna write the notes and then take the test.
No, you have today to take the test. You won't have enough time if you wait. All right, we're gonna do a problem right away. A survey of 2,184 adults found that 1,328 of them owned at least one pet. So we did a survey. We asked the question to 2,184 adults, and 1,328 of them said yes, I have at least one pet. The other part said no, I don't have a pet. Okay, so in this particular case, what would the population be? Is there only 2,184 adults in the United States?
No.
Okay, so the population is all adults, right, in the U.S. But we can't ask all the adults in the U.S. this question, so we ask a sample of them. Does that make sense? Okay, so be careful because the whole number that they give you isn't necessarily every single possible person in that population. So most times, every time, you are asking a sample of that population. So the sample is the 2,184 adults who responded to the question or the survey. Okay, so the sample was the 2,184 adults. All right, why do we do a sample again? You can't ask all the people, right? I mean, again, somebody probably could, but that doesn't even guarantee that everybody would respond, right? So we use samples to try to predict what the whole population would say if we could ask everybody. All right, so go ahead and turn in your books to 919, please.
What's the EOC practice test form G? Was it something handed out? Was that something handed out yesterday?
It's in Big Ideas.
Okay.
All right, down at the bottom of the page, we have to identify the population and the sample. So for number 1, the Energy Information Administration called 800 retail gasoline outlets, records the prices, and then determines the average price for each grade of gasoline. So what would the population be in that scenario? Luciano?
All the gasoline outlets in the U.S.
Yeah, literally all gas stations in the U.S. All right, what would the sample be, Jace?
The 800 retail gasoline outlets.
Yep, the 800 that they called would be the sample. All right, you guys try number 2 and 3. Who's that? Just shut it off. Connor, is that you? Who is it? Sebastian?
No.
Okay, so do I need to get everybody to take their phones out right now? Jackson?
No.
If I hear it again, I'm going to confiscate every single phone in here, and you're going to not have it for the weekend, and then your parent can come pick it up on Monday. So whoever phone that was needs to turn it off. Well, this will be fun when it happens again.
I can check. It might be mine. I don't know. Oh.
Which is what I just said. All right, number 2, Jackson. What's the population?
All the shoppers in the U.S.
Good. All shoppers, U.S. Sample, Jackson.
The 4,464 shoppers.
Good. And number 3, Vincent, population.
All the statisticians in the U.S.
Good. Statisticians, right? Statisticians in the U.S. And sample was the 1068 that were surveyed. All right. Are we good on population sample? Okay. Anybody still writing? Gianna, was it your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it sounded like it was over here. Sorry to be discriminate and only ask the boys if their sports center theme went off. All right, on the back of that page, parameter. A parameter is a numerical description of a population characteristic. So notice that parameter goes with population. What do they have in common? A P. The next one is a statistic. A statistic is a numerical description of a sample characteristic. What statistic go with? Sample. What do they have in common? S. So one of the things that we need to remember is I feel like in, everyday language, people use the word statistic to represent anything like that's a survey. So it's just kind of has gotten generalized. Oh, that's a statistic. Okay, but we need to remember that it only goes with samples. But what is mostly asked, aren't we always, most of the time, looking at samples, right? We don't really ever look at a question that was asked to the whole population. So that's why statistics has become the generalized word. All right, so if you had a sentence for all students taking the SAT, the mean score was 531. Would this be a parameter or a statistic? Josh?
Parameter,
Why?
because it's all the students taking the SAT.
Okay, so here's a good example of one where they can actually track every student that took the SAT in the United States on that day and figure out what their mean score was, right? Average score. Very good. So this is a parameter because all the students that took the SAT were included. So it wasn't just a sample, it was all. All right, and then an example of a statistic would be a survey. Really, once you see that word survey, it's almost always going to be a sample. A survey of 1,060 women, age 20 to 29, found the median height was 63.5 inches. So this is a statistic. Based on a sample. Any questions so far? Okay, next word, population mean. You can estimate the mean or the average of a population by finding the mean of a sample of that population. Which totally makes sense. Isn't that what we do anyways? When we do a survey, we're just finding something out about the sample, and then we're saying, well, we think then that the rest of the population probably would kind of follow the same trend. The example 3 in the book, I feel like makes it seem way harder than it needs to be. They use some Greek symbols. So if you see that symbol, I don't even know what it is. Is it like mu, maybe? I think it's mu. Anyways, it just means population mean, but we are using the sample that they give us to estimate that population mean. Anybody still writing? Okay. All right, let's do an example. So, for example, if we wanted to estimate how many friends a typical 14-year-old has on Snapchat. Now, is this going to be for sure an exact science? No. Okay, this is going to be just a estimate, so it's not going to be exact, but it'll be an estimate. So could we ask every single 14-year-old in the United States? Us personally, no, we couldn't ask them. Maybe somebody could, maybe on Snapchat, they would have those, that information, but we could, if we wanted to try to estimate it, we could ask a sample of 14-year-olds and then find the average or the mean, same thing, of the sample. Well, where would we get a sample of 14-year-olds? Yeah, you could do it in your school, right? Would it be the absolute best representation of the whole United States? No. Okay, so, I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not going to be exact, but it'll at least give you kind of a estimate. All right, this allows us to estimate the mean of the population. So let's do, what would, using our school, could we do an estimate of the whole school based on just this class? Could we estimate how many friends 7th graders at Hale Middle have as friends on Snapchat just by using our class? Okay, so yeah, we got time. Let's do it. You guys ready? Does everyone know how many friends you have on Snap without looking?
Yes, I do.
I don't have Snapchat.
Well,
Can I check? Are we allowed to check?
Yes.